Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates.
Welcome to Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates. I'm your host, Mike Iglinski. Tonight's guest is Mr. Frank Carboni. He's running for District 2 County Commissioner. And in fact, this would be the first time we've spoken with Mr. Carboni.
That's correct.
Thanks for being on the show. We do appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me.
Because you and I have never actually sat and chatted before, I'd like to hear a little bit about your background and why you're running for office.
Well, my background, basically, for 30 years I worked for a company called Northrop Grumman. Before that was just Northrop, but as it consolidated and grabbed more things up, it became Northrop Grumman. Before that, I did various things before coming out of the military. I was in the Air Force for 4 years. During 1969 to 73. Are
you from the state of Nevada?
No, actually, I came out of New York.
Okay.
Long Island was my address when I went into the service. Spent some time in California. That's where I spent most of my time in the military, out of Victorville, and TDY'd out of Victorville to various places in the world. So I had a little bit of culture that I got to grab from Southeast Asia, Thailand, and a few other places, the Philippines, and so on. But as far as that's concerned, that's pretty much my history.
So your business background, and then eventually how'd you find your way to Nye County?
Well, my business background was mainly from my manufacturing, engineering, tooling, and my industrial engineering background, and also my program management, which is my vast experience. When I retired out of Oklahoma from Northrop, setting up the helping set up the B2 SPO out there. I needed a place to retire to, and my son lived in Vegas, so we thought that maybe something a little outside of that, because I needed a little bit more property than what Vegas would offer.
Right.
So I got myself a little bit over an acre of property and moved out here to Pahrump.
Beautiful. When was that, you said?
I moved out here in 2005.
2005. So you're still here during the boom times, I guess.
Yeah, it was still doing pretty good, but it started to go down pretty quick after that.
Okay. Well, I would assume that retirement, keeping you in this town, and you felt as if it was time to maybe serve the public again. Is that what brought you to today?
Well, yeah, I guess that when you start to think about it, some of the things that made me more wanting to join the ranks of the federal government, I guess, or the state government, or the county government, whatever you want to call it, is watching what goes on in reactions in the meetings, where you have town board people and commissioners not getting together and trying to help each other. I mean, I hear it all the time in the meetings where the county commissioners aren't helping me, and we need more of that support. I know that in my mind that I can help bring that by being at those meetings more often. I enjoy going to the town board meetings, so if I am elected as a county commissioner, I will be at those town board meetings as well as my own meetings.
They're very lively, the town board meetings.
Yes, they are.
One of the things that you and I were discussing before we actually went on air, was in fact that the town board meetings have a specific schedule in place that allow for,
yes,
the every person to be heard.
Right. Yep.
And a lot of times those town board meetings, in fact, I think have been designed to give people the time to at least, have their public say.
That's right. And it's nice to have the folks come in and be able to say something to the people that are sitting on the town board, and hopefully that they'll understand and listen to what we have to say. I think that the commissioners have to have that same position. They need to have their meetings closer to times when people can be off from work and be able to be participants in their meetings, for the simple reason is that 10 o'clock in the morning doesn't appear to be the best time, seeing that the auditorium is always empty. You never see very many people in the meetings. I understand there's people probably online watching, but I have no idea how many. But there's no way of interacting if you don't have people in seats.
Right. Right now, the town board meetings are held, I think it's
7 o'clock?
7 o'clock at night, yeah, during the week. Tuesdays?
Tuesday, that's every other Tuesday.
Every other Tuesday. And you see that the county commissioners are holding their meetings
at 10 o'clock.
10 a.m. on Tuesdays. So essentially anybody who's got a 9 to 5.
Yeah, cannot make those meetings.
Cannot make those meetings. Yeah. I think that since you brought up the county commission and the town board, one of the subjects that has always been in contention between those two groups, in my opinion, has been economic development.
Yes.
What do you plan on doing to address the issue?
Well, again, my background in the program management, industrial engineering, some of the things we had to do in our company is to offload things that we thought that were perfect for small town businesses, where you could set up a wire shop, a hydraulic shop, tubing building, or any kind of mechanical stuff. It could even be antennas or composite. Train the people within that town, give them the education to go do those things, and set up a shop there. I believe, based on my background and knowing a lot of these companies are still doing those things, I can entice them, hopefully, to come to this county.
So what you think is that, in fact, that if we can draw not necessarily, say, headquarters or corporate headquarters for something, but to actually have smaller, localized supply shops for some of these larger producers?
They would actually be manufacturing components. We did the same thing in Minot, North Dakota, where we put a wire shop up there for harnesses for the B-2 bomber, and it was very successful. We trained the people there. Matter of fact, we even put some of this on an Indian reservation, which allowed to have those people learn a different skill and trade. And I believe there's more things going in there since then.
Is there an issue being that although Pahrump is so close, and as we sit in Pahrump today, so close to Las Vegas, but still, do you have a hard time with rurals, as far as supply side? And do you, in fact, have to be close to projects in order to see those types of small shops to be set up?
Well, I feel that there's enough business out there in these big, large companies to move things to this rural area. Understanding that there's maybe not enough roads in here to bring heavy equipment or heavy trucks, but I believe when you're talking about building tubes and wires and antennas, these are not large components where the commerce here is not that bad.
Right.
I do know that in order to bring those businesses here, we're going to have to do something with their impact fees and taxes. Right.
Well, we're going to take our first commercial break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about some of those impact fees and taxes.
Okay, great.
We'll be right back.
Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates. Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates.
Welcome back to Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates. I'm your host, Mike Oglinski. We're back with tonight's guest, Mr. Frank Carboni. He's running for District 2 County Commissioner. Before we went to the commercial break, we were actually discussing impact fees. And in fact, the county commissioners, I don't know how you want to say it, either aiding or maybe determinant of business coming into this town. So, again, we didn't really go into impact fees. You came in 2005.
Yes.
We've obviously seen a change in the marketplace here.
Correct.
These impact fees, explain to some of our viewers as far as what you think they've done to help or hurt the county.
Well, that's kind of a tough question. You have a lot of little businesses or businesses that want to come up here or have been solicited to come up here, and there is the impact fees that the town or the commissioners have that they have to provide or give to the people that are trying to get in here. And those impact fees are quite large depending on what kind of business it is. And in order to bring those businesses here, and I understand the commissioners just laxed that a little bit, where they suspended it, that they're going to, relax the impact fees for a while. I don't know what the exact timing is when they'll come back on again, but that's a good thing to help bring business in here. And I'd like to be able to make that be a little bit longer for bringing more business in, because the more business we bring in, and again, that goes along with the taxes, too, is trying to reduce the amount of taxes you charge them to bring them in for a certain amount of time to get the business started and let the business grow a little bit and then start bringing up what the taxes may be. But to bring those businesses in, that allows us to have more people working, which brings that much more taxes in, because they're going to buy a home, hopefully, and pay property tax and buy things here.
Well, tax revenue is obviously extremely important for any area, and seeing that the Pahrump Valley Times just recently reported on a $2.7 million deficiency in tax revenue. Deficit in tax revenue. That being said, to follow a hard question with another one, coming into town today, I actually was driving, and I had noticed that a local hardware store is closed.
Ace.
Yeah. And to me, I wonder, is it to the detriment of the community to have a big box retailer come in and get these tax incentives, and obviously to the detriment of a small business person, as we've seen with Ace.
Right. I know that's a thin line you have to walk, and you have to weigh those things to see what's going to be best for the community. Is 100 people working versus 10 people working? I mean, you have to weigh all those things and see which is best. That's why I was suggesting, in my mind, is some smaller items, again, like a wire shop, a hydraulic shop, something that's a little bit smaller to start bringing things in. Eventually, the county, the town, and the towns, because it won't be just here in Pahrump, it'll be somewhere in the county. It could be up in Amargosa, it could be up towards Beatty, it could be anywhere within the county to have this done, because you got to pick the most proper place for it to happen. And it could be in somebody else's district other than mine.
Well, Tonopah, we have good roadways going through there.
Correct. And it's close to California, where a lot of these businesses would run through. Their commerce is bigger, so you would have more accessibility for those areas. But again, you want to try to bring some of those businesses closer to other towns as well, so that they have, pick up that revenue as well too.
Will you comment on one of the things that I found to be a little strange was reading the newspaper almost a year ago now, I guess, to see that the county had in fact provided $190,000 to do a study to see if a water park would be feasible for Pahrump.
Well, yeah, the town board has put forth that type of a proposal, and they're currently working on different aspects of it. I can't tell you from my standpoint if it's good or bad yet. I mean, I know that we're spending not taxpayer dollars, we're spending room tax dollars to go do that. So understanding that's, a lot of people aren't happy with that. But again, if the town board made a decision to go do something, we may not all like it, but I mean, that's their job, is to go make some decisions. Now, there's people out there that need to, bring to the table their argument on why we don't want it or why we need to do something different.
I just wonder if we're talking about hitting base hits instead of home runs, things like suggesting spending almost $200,000 on a study to see if it's feasible, is a town board member doing a favor for somebody? I don't quite understand the spend versus, say, how do we attract more small business, or how do we spur growth within our own communities?
Well, again, I can't speak for the town board itself on why they made that decision, but I know that their thought process is they're trying to bring something here that would bring jobs. Now, some of the things that they brought up and we have seen so far didn't look like it was very feasible. And again, I'm not going to say I'm for or against what's going on there.
Well, let's talk about one of the other things that you've have mentioned or outlined in your campaign. The situation with animal control services. Now, what I have to assume is that you think it's underfunded.
I believe so.
And
I'm not too sure I understand all the things that they're not getting, but I do know that there are some funding issues in regards to animal control. I've read several times in the paper that there's been issues where they needed more people to support animal control, and they've been trying to move funds around to do that. But that's probably the reason why you don't see a lot of the animal control folks out and amongst things, because there's not enough money to go do that. And I'd like to see our animals and the people who call these animal control folks get the service that they need. And this is a big county. I mean, you're talking, what is this, the third largest in the United States? It's a big county. It may not have a lot of people in it. Yeah, it may not have a lot of people in it, but it's got a lot of land mass. So that means there's a lot of traveling back and forth at certain places, and these guys are spread out all over the place. So they need probably more people, more trucks to do the business they need to go do.
Would it be reasonable to expect a town like Pahrump, the size of Pahrump, to have their own animal control services in place?
Well, knowing it's financed through the county, it'll be an expense unless the town was incorporated, and then they'd have to pay for those things out of their own. But currently today, that's all being paid out of the county.
We're going to take one last commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Blag Road.
Okay.
And then a couple of other items on your current campaign.
Sounds good.
Okay. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates. Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates.
Welcome back to Court Reporter Stovall and Associates. I'm your host, Mike Iglinski. For the final segment tonight, we're going to finish up with Frank Carbone. He is running for the District 2 County Commissioner's Office. Before we went to break, we were discussing some of the impact fees. But another item of controversy is the fiasco with Black Road.
Yes.
I would like for you to address, as far as from your point of view, as a citizen, what did you see with the Black Road incident, and what can we do to address it now?
Well, I think to answer the now thing, I think the commissioners are starting to do something about it. They're actually accepting bids now for the work that's going on. But a whole year, better than a whole year has gone on, and nothing's been done. It appears that getting closer and closer to election time, it seems like things are getting done. I don't want to say anything bad, but that's what it seems like. It appears that that's what's happening. Now, somebody may dispute that, but that's the appearance. So for over a year and several months, something could have been done to make that road accessible for the people. I mean, we lost one business there. The Laugh Factory had to move to a different store. Now, I don't know if that was a good move or a bad move, but again, that person had to move in order to keep his business.
Right.
That obviously had to cost them money. So, I mean, you got a bunch of neighbors, a neighborhood in there that just has not got good access. You got to use a dirt road now to go as your secondary road to go from 160. So, I mean, it's just.
I would have to assume that none of the county commissioners live on Black Road.
That's probably true. Probably true. They probably never traveled down it either. But I mean, it's there's a lot of people who use it as access because they don't like going down 160.
Right.
They'd rather go down either Blagg or Leslie.
Mm-hmm.
And now Leslie is kind of torn up a little bit, but due to some of the the sealing that we did down there, it didn't seem like it worked very well.
Can I ask you about what I think is a marked difference between the makeup of the town board and the makeup of the county commissioners, and in fact, and also if in your point of view, and if you'd like to answer or not, the addition of, say, like a Dan Shinhoffen into the county commissioners seemed to kind of have a different persona outside of what I thought at one time the county commissioner was typically made of or comprised of.
Well, Dan appears to be very personable. I mean, he likes to get out amongst his constituents more than I think than some of the others. Now, I can't say that for all of them, but I know I can attest that he is getting out there with all the rest of the folks and trying to make a difference. He is by nature, I think, a libertarian, so his libertarian views are out there, and he's not afraid to share them.
I think he's very he voices his opinion freely.
Yep.
But I did think, seeing like Commissioner Shinhoffen come into place, it felt as if more local politics became local again.
Yes, he is a believer of the constituents are the people he has to contend to. Even though he's a commissioner and has to work with the other commissioners for the other things that have to happen in the commission, he's more attentive to the people that elected him. I have that same feeling. There's the people who elect me, if I get elected, I have to pay attention to those constituents. Those are the people that elected me. But I also have to work with the other county commissioners. I cannot walk away from the commissioner job. But I do have a very big alliance to the people that elected me. Matter of fact, that's the proponents of my thought process.
Do you have a concern that the gentleman that you're running against, the incumbent, has held the position for some time now and seems to have a very solid political base with the powers that be? Do you think that's different from what you're saying, that you want to connect with the people and allow for more public access?
That's my feeling. That's my belief. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to deal with the businesses and stuff around as Mr. Hollis does, but I believe that I have to be more understanding to what the people need within this town, as well as what goes on in the county.
One of the things that's an interesting piece as far as in Nye County also are the readily available quotes and access from the media with our politicians, whether it be the judiciary or the county commissioners or even the sheriff's office. It seems that you can't open a newspaper without having one of our elected officials spouting off and maybe sometimes saying too much. Do you think that's the benefit? Does it allow for more access, or does it allow for a a better digest amongst the constituents and the elected officials, or is it something that you would like to see curtailed a little bit?
Well, again, I can't control what people say. I only can control what I say. And if another official has something they want to say and they say it in their own way, I can't, that's the only thing I can say. Sometimes they may say something that they regret later, but I mean, those things happen. I mean, any politician or anybody who's running for office or is in any kind of position, even as a manager in a company, you might say something that you may regret. I mean, because it'll show up somewhere. It either shows up in a performance review in a company or it shows up in a newspaper if you're a public official.
If elected, first platform, what is the most important thing for you to start?
Well, the first thing I want to do is, in regards to, I want to make sure that what the people need within this town and also the county gets brought forward, because I don't believe that's being brought forward enough. I believe that, one, I want to dive into what's going on in the budgets. Being at a very high level management position, I had to control all my budgets. Had to make sure that I kept all my accounts correct. I couldn't overspend what I had. I had to spend what I had. If I had to make adjustments in what I was spending, I had to go do those things. Mm-hmm. I like to work those things, and when I get in, if I get elected, that'll be some of the things I'm going to go after.
Mr. Carboni, I appreciate you being on the show tonight.
Thank you.
Do you have a way that a voter can reach you to engage?
Sure. There's a meet and greet going to happen on the 15th of this month. It's going to be over at the Maverick. There'll be several politicians there, I believe. It's going to be, from my understanding, it's pretty good sized. It's also a fundraiser, whoever wants to participate in that. My phone number is up there on the screen, 775-751-9252.
And people are welcome to call you and ask
Sure.
you questions.
Sure.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
I appreciate it.
It's been fun.
All right,
And
it has been.
we'll have you on closer to the general election.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks
Thanks a lot.
again. Thanks for watching Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates. We'll see you next week.
Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates.